Greetings. This is San Francisco 1999, and I'm Neil Cavan. I'm an artist and a performer, and I was there on the San Francisco Bay Area scene during the last days before smartphones and social media. And I host conversations here with guests who recollect what life was like back in the before times. The folks who are sharing their stories each week in conversation were then, and still are, vibrant contributors and participants in the co-creation of San Francisco Bay Area arts and culture. The majority of the esteemed guests are folks that I know from that time and or had the pleasure of working with back then, perhaps are still my colleagues now, many of whom I have the honor of considering my good friends to this very day. You can join the conversation by leaving a question or a comment at sanfran99.com. Welcome. It's Friday, October 31st, 2025. That means it's Halloween. Happy All Hallows Eve, and wishing you a beautiful Dia de los Muertos this weekend, honoring our ancestors and loved ones that have crossed over to the other side as we peel back the veil between this world and the spirit world. And in that spirit, we are joined today by Jeffrey Alphonsus Mooney, a teacher, a performer, a ritualist. He's a musician, and he's been part of the Reclaiming Collective for nearly 4 decades now. As such, you can find him teaching and leading ritual and chanting and helping folks reconnect with their soul's wilderness. So, I am glad that you are joining us here today for this conversation. Jeffrey Alphonsus Mooney, what a pleasure and an honor. How are you feeling? How are you doing?
I'm feeling great.
Yes.
And I'm really excited to talk with you because you yourself are an inspiration to me. I remember that since when I first met you.
Wow.
I'm just looking forward to getting into this. I'm really excited about your project. And I have been doing a lot of reflecting, remembering.
Word. You came from the East Coast to San Francisco Bay, or to San Francisco, I think, in the late 80s. Is that right?
Yep.
I think you told me what brought you west was somebody you met, right?
I met someone. I felt the personal draw, but the significant additional fact was they were already involved in the experiment of art and dance. And that was where I was heading in my own curiosities and inquiries. And they were involved in a project in San Francisco. So when I crazily said, can I just fly out, and did.
Where were you living?
I was in Boston, and I was in the rock and roll scene there, but I realized I was a little bit weirder. A little bit more hungry for a broader view of the possibilities. And I got involved in experimental theater and political theater. And I came out to San Francisco and I was gifted finding my tribe right away.
Wow.
I think there's great people everywhere, but that's not the same thing as finding your tribe. It's not. And what did that consist of? What did that have that made me think, I found my tribe? It's like numerous people that felt very committed and very smart about the questions like, what is healing? What is activism? What is culture? I can tell you that the day I heard someone say they stopped calling themselves an artist and called themselves a culture worker, that really struck me well. I liked that. It gave a focus and a broadening about what we as people can do with our creativity.
Yeah, I'd never heard that term before.
Right? You see how it kind of lands a little different, right? So I began right away and getting involved, doing things, doing experimental theater, and my political activism got a little bit more in focus. Okay. And I helped form a political theater group, and we would go to political actions and we would do theater pieces. And this was very inspired by a theater group called The Living Theater. That they started in the 50s, but they did a lot of work in the 60s. They were in France in 68. And they were doing a lot of like take theater off the stage, the the street is the real stage.
Yeah.
They brought really crazy ideas into it, happenings, because the 60s were all about experimenting with the form itself. And we were very, very inspired by that, me and friends that I was with. And so that was a beginning, right? A beginning.
Yeah.
And then also just by circumstance, happenstance, coincidence, synchronicity, I got involved and I got to have these experiences going up to Heartwood
Yeah.
Healing Arts Program, and they were doing these peyote ceremonies.
Wow.
And so I got to experience hardcore sitting in a circle up all night. And that was formative about, kind of the spiritual aspect about radical culture.
Yeah. Were these like a Native American church teepee ceremony type things?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Nice.
Yeah, correct. I then started to meet, doing these actions on the street, I started to meet people in this Bay Area pagan group called Reclaiming, most known by a woman named Starhawk, who wrote many influential books.
Yes. Yes.
And I got involved in that, and I started teaching and getting flown to different places. I've taught in Canada, I've taught in Australia, I've taught in different parts of the country, and with, some very basic assumptions about what are we doing together. Let's connect to ourselves more deeply. Let's connect to the earth. Let's connect to ancient stories.
Yes.
And that became very, very formative.
What were the things that you were getting invited to speak at or teach?
Well, I think what you're asking perhaps is, what is the nature of something called witch camp?
Okay.
And I would say the basic structure is, let's come together. We're going to pick a myth or a story, a folktale. We're going to see how we can use storytelling and theater and drumming and singing and meditation. How can these stories be useful now?
Yeah.
And that was really exciting, to be with others in this way. I mean, for me, it's fun enough. Hey, we're hanging out by a fire singing. Already I'm having a good time. But to be with such a focus and discipline of like, how does this help us evolve? How does this help us connect? Some sense of a deeper practice.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that for years. I've been teaching for years, and I was just teaching in Vermont. But part of what I want to say is, I would be meeting these people on the streets in these actions because one of the tenets of this perspective on a pagan spiritual practice, because pagan doesn't mean this, but in this group it did protect the earth as an activist. The earth is sacred, life is sacred. Let's work together, not just on ourselves.
Word.
And that was inspiring to me. And I could enter very easily through the ecstatic discipline of raise the energy with drumming and singing.
Yeah.
But I would also say my experience as a ritualist has tremendously influenced me as a musician, because I'm always thinking it's not just about me on the stage. It's about, what can I do to help the whole room feel more connected?
That's right.
Like, that's the issue,
Yes.
right? So I began that, and then been doing that for years.
Was there a central place where you meet up? And
Originally, it was very, San Francisco. San Francisco is the center.
Yeah.
And then after a while, it was, I have to say, a correct evolution of thought that the communities themselves should be their own centers.
Yeah.
And so there was a transition to, hi, this is how we do everything, do this, to, hi, here's our model. You decide what you want to do with it. And so various communities have sprung up all over the country. There's groups in Europe, Australia, and Canada as well. So that's wonderful.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I got to be more clearly identified with anarchist politics.
Huh.
And, started to read and get more educated, both its history
Yeah.
and in its present variations.
Yes.
As an activist. In 1999,
Yeah.
it was the first time I decided to not just show up in my city when things were happening. It was, hey, let's go to other parts of the country and show up.
Cool.
And I have to tell you, it's probably one of the more transformative experience I personally, my values, have ever experienced, because it's rare to have such non status quo values and feel like you can matter. It's very hard to feel like you're on the winning side. And so many people showed up from so many places, and we were more effective than we imagined. A few years later, because the following year, we then, let's buy airplane tickets and go all the way to Washington, D.C. for this World Bank action. And of course, they weren't going to let Seattle happen again, so it was a little more intense. But I taught a class called Drumming in the Streets, and the whole group bought plane tickets, and we went to Washington, D.C., and it was so badass. I felt like we were an emotional artillery unit, because there'd be these static energy lockdowns with the wall of police, and then we would just come with our drums and just boost the energy, and people would cheer. And it's rare to feel useful at something that feels meaningful.
One of the things that keeps coming up was that the reason we were able to do a lot of that stuff is because it wasn't so expensive to live.
Yeah. At some point in the 90s, I ended up in a house called the Fillmore House, and I ended up there for 17 years. We just were renting. Check it out, man. We were renting from downstairs landlord, Walter Hinton.
Okay, I'm going to paint the picture. This is a Victorian that would have been in the Fillmore Western edition.
Correct. Beautiful house, but very run down, and, no repairs, But he had no profit motive. And so when you ask me how I got by, my rent was $250 for 17 years.
So in the mid-90s now, you're in the Fillmore House, which is, what's the name of that park that it's right next to?
Alamo Park. And
cool area.
One thing I got to do at the Fillmore House that I loved doing, that was community building.
Yeah.
I would have full moon gatherings.
Yeah.
Every month, people just knew. People would just come. And it was an exciting, I don't know if experiment's the right word, but, it was more than just let's just get together and shoot the shit. There would be that, which is good enough. But then there'd be a moment where it's like, hi, everyone, let's just all sit down now and drop into feeling we, as I like to say it. Let's just take a breath together, and let's just orient towards what does it mean to just even connect.
In the early 2000s, we'll say. Could be in the mid-90s or the early 2000s, somewhere in there. What would a day in the life be like for you?
I was a musician for modern dance classes.
I'm hoping to talk to a friend of mine, and she came to San Francisco as a choreographer for modern dance, like in the Mission when there were different, what was that place
that's
called?
what I was doing, man. That's what I was doing.
ODC, right? Remember that place?
Oh, yeah, I was drumming in ODC. I was drumming with Sarah Shelton Mann and Contraband and Keith Hennessy and all those folks. So that was the first group. I worked with them and Jules Beckman, and did a lot of performing and performance art with Keith and sometimes Jules and other folks. And that was super, super inspiring. To do all that, really, really creative. And because of the work, the music I was doing in one particular dance class, a dancer came up to me and said, can I commission you? Because I'm working on a piece. I was like, wow, great. And then they're like, oh, by the way, my partner, they have a couple of gigs coming up. They need a drummer. Would you be the drummer? It's like, oh my God, this is awesome. So the choreographer was Sean Dorsey, and the musician was Shauna Virago. Sean Dorsey is a man that used to be a woman, and Shauna Virago was a woman that used to be a man.
Wow.
And they started the Fresh Meat Festival, had films, dance, and performance. And so I got to perform, and I got to have my music in a dance piece, and we got called an Izzy Award. And what an honor, right? What an honor.
Yeah. What was the focus of the Fresh Meat Festival particularly?
It was a trans festival.
Wow. That's really cool.
And it still happens.
Yeah. And that was in San Francisco?
Yeah.
Very cool, man.
Early 2000s.
When you do look back at that time, what are the things that have stayed with you the most?
Okay. What sticks out is how fortunate I was to find myself surrounded by like-minded people, some who are more articulate or deeper in thought, to help me feel like I could belong to myself in a way that I wished.
Yeah.
By some magical coincidence, coming here was where the connection, the ignition occurred, and a momentum occurred.
Yeah.
Where I could say I still feel of something.
Yeah.
I can have memories of something, but I can look across the room and go, and you were there.
Yeah.
And you were there.
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful feeling. And a lot of people do not have that.
That's a good point. I mean, I could definitely, when you say that, I'm reminded of the continuum of that feeling of joy and excitement when I would see you out at some particular gathering. It was like an affirmation that you knew, oh, okay, we're in the right place at the right time. This is one of those moments. When this recording gets released, it's going to be Halloween, and then obviously the next day, the weekend, is Dia de los Muertos.
Oh, I've been at almost every single San Francisco Dia de los Muertos procession since I got here because it's so rich to me, and because I've had a good handful of loved ones die, and it's just been like, that's where I want to be.
Yeah.
And I remember one year I had a chant I came up with, for my little drumming troupe. Don't forget, we all die.
Yeah.
So don't forget to look each other in the eye. And as we sang it, Neil, we would look each other in the eyes. And that fact was so transformative. Suddenly it wasn't just words.
Wow. Yes.
Love you, Neil.
I love you too. Are you going to any Halloween parties or anything?
So I live near a wonderful cemetery.
Cool.
And so I take people on a Halloween tour of the cemetery because it's so cool.
Nice.
There's a drainage tunnel. So I say, let me guide you in a journey to the underworld in the land of the dead. And we go into this tunnel, we bring candles and we sing because it's really echoey. And then I show them some of my favorite spots in the cemetery. And then I'll be there for Day of the Dead on Sunday.
In San Francisco? In the Mission?
Correct, Sunday the 2nd, yeah.
Yeah, and I imagine it's still as beautiful a thing as ever there.
Oh yeah, always.
Jeffrey Alphonsus Mooney, thank you so much for all of the wisdom and the reflection and recollection and remembering. Blessings to you, my brother.
Thank you so much, Neil. It's been quite a treat to reminisce with you, and I look forward to more future high-quality memories.
Absolutely. I really hope to get to give you a big hug in person real soon.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you for listening to San Francisco 1999. We'll be back next Friday with another episode for you. Subscribe to this podcast so that you get notified. And if you'd like to join the conversation, you can go to sanfran99.com, leave a question, comment, sign up for the newsletter. And hey, before you go, remember this. You are making history. You are part of history. You are part of culture. And so my hopes and my wishes for you are that you find ways to express yourself creatively and engage in the communities and the cultures that you are passionate about and be a part of making something happen. Until next time, take care and much love.